guys, Jay here. Welcome to Models Memories Weekly, episode 234. Models Memories is a show about nothing and is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is a show where I talk about painting, modeling, and wargame experiences from the week. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 videos a week. How? Could I possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. This week, Games Workshop has dropped the first tease of the brand new Drukhari Codex. Oh, it's an exciting time to be a Dark Elf player. But first, have you ever heard of a little game called Trench Crusade? Well, we certainly have. In fact, we are working in collaboration with Trench Crusade to make a new battlefield for the game, the Catacombs of the Blessed Dead. The Catacombs of the Blessed Dead is a new way to play Trench Crusade, foregoing above-ground trench warfare and switching to a tight labyrinthine maze of subterranean hallways studded with the bones of the blessed men and women who have fallen in holy war. Not only terrain, we also have our own resin cast minis, the Catacomb Sappers and the Grace of Flesh. The campaign has 3 days left. Follow the link in the description to the Game Found campaign to check it out. I have been waiting on the new Dark Eldar Codex for the entire edition. The edition is almost over. Everything is pointing to summer next year. We're gonna get a new 11th edition Warhammer 40,000, probably more of a 10.5 than a full refresh of the game. But the Dark Eldar, we have been languishing. And now we've gotten the first tease of a brand spanking new book. The Dark Eldar have had a little bit of a rough ride in 10th edition. Our launch detachment was pretty bad, although it started to make a comeback a little bit recently, but it's been a tricky one to play. At the start of the game, you get 3 extra pain tokens, which is not a particularly good ability from the detachment, but then we got Sky Splinter Assault Force, which is a much better detachment, which makes transports a lot better, and Dark Eldar are all about the transports. Then, around Christmas time, we got the Grotsmas detachment with Reaper's Wager, which is a really fun detachment that lets you bring some Dark Eldar and some Harlequins, and then while you're playing your games, you kind of bounce back and forth between, well, who's getting the most kills right now? And whoever's not getting the most kills, they get reroll hit rolls of 1 and reroll wound rolls of 1, which is pretty spicy on a lot of Dark Eldar units. I've been having a lot of fun putting together a Dark Eldar army. I have almost 3,000 points painted up, ready to rock and roll. I have 2 Tantaluses. The Tantalus from Forge World. One of the most beautiful Forge World kits ever created. They are absolutely gorgeous miniatures. And I played a game against Scott the Miniature Maniac where I brought those Tantaluses, and we didn't get through the entire game, but I smoked him. I smoked Scott. But speaking of smoking Scott, the Dark Eldar are just really, really fun, but they're in a bit of a rough spot because currently there's a bunch of things in the index that you can play with in-game, but you can't actually buy from Games Workshop. I don't know when the last time you could buy these things from Games Workshop. It has been a hot minute, but right now, Urian Rakarth, the named character for the Homunculus Coven, Beastmaster, Court of the Archon, and Grotesques. These are some of the best data sheets that the Dark Eldar have access to, and you cannot buy them, which makes me really nervous that they might be going away, but right now, I'm holding off hope. In the Warhammer community article showing off the new Dark Eldar Codex, we've got 2 new units. We've got a refresh and a brand spanking new unit in Lady Malaise. She is a Archon and a really, really cool miniature. This miniature actually got leaked a few months ago, just a picture of the sprue. And the sprue is dated a few years ago, and so people were wondering if this is something that Games Workshop made, but then eventually decided to axe from the game or not release, because usually things are dated relatively close to when they come out. Also, usually when a sprue is leaked, Games Workshop just fully shows off what it's going to be. We saw that with the Death Guard when the Bringer of Poxes got shown off, and then like that day they released an article saying, oh yeah, that's a really cool character that's coming out soon for Death Guard. But they didn't do it for the Dark Eldar, and which is interesting and weird. Is it just Games Workshop doesn't really care about the Dark Eldar? I don't know, but Lady Malaise is here. She's a really, really cool character. I'm wondering what she's gonna be allowed to attach to. Hopefully everything, but Archon can only attach to Cabalites or Incubi. So presumably she's also gonna attach to Cabalites or Incubi. Reading the descriptions that they give in this article, It sounds like she's gonna have either infiltrate or some kind of a take off, like go off the board, come back onto the board later kind of a mechanic, which would be really, really good for Dark Eldar. Like that's the reason that people bring mandrakes, is because they have the rule that is colloquially called uppy downy. And it's a really, really good rule and a really powerful ability, especially on things that have rules like Deep Strike. So the Lady Malaise could be a really, really cool addition to Dark Eldar. Really, any model coming to Dark Eldar is going to change how we play a lot, because we don't have that many data sheets. We're a really small army. So anything new is going to be really, really cool. And Lady Malaise is a really, really cool miniature. I really like, she has 2 face options. One, just her face is exposed, and then the other one, she's got like a shawl over her face, which is a really spooky and interesting look. I really like this miniature. I really want to add it to the Force. And speaking of adding things to the Force, there is also a new Archon. Now, there was already a plastic Archon that people weren't huge fans of. He was kind of doing like a mummy pose or a vampire in his coffin pose, which I kind of liked. I have one, and I quite like it, but most people seem to not really like that model very much. So it's getting refreshed in a new plastic kit, a multi-part plastic kit, which is nice so that you have the options, and it looks really, really good. It actually harkens back to the old Dark Eldar Codex of just an Archon carrying a weird like holocron looking thing from Star Wars, or I guess it's probably meant to be like the Lament configuration puzzle cube from the Hellraiser movies. Oh, I love the Hellraiser movies so much. Well, I love the first 2 Hellraiser movies so much, not the other 13. The rest of them are really, really bad, but the first 2. I mean, spooky season is coming up. If anyone hasn't seen Hellraiser 1 and 2, you should watch Hellraiser 1 and 2. But speaking of Hellraiser, new Archon does look fantastic, and I do think that the more open and imposing pose is a lot better than just the kind of static pose that the old Archon had. In my perfect world, if we're not getting that many new things for the Dark Eldar, I would not have replaced one of our plastic kits and instead replaced one of our Finecast or unavailable kits, but that's just me. I guess Games Workshop had other ideas. But this kit looks fantastic. I like the little cape. I like all of the different weapon options. We've got swordy up and swordy down, which is a really nice touch. We got some a bear head and a helmeted head. We've got a stinger pistol, which I really, really hope we get the fusion pistol? Like the melt pistol. That is always the one to take for Dark Eldar. Ooh, and it's got an agonizer. The agonizer is probably not going to be as good as the power weapon or the, what do they call their bone swords? They're not Tyranid bone swords. They're called something else, but usually the power weapon is the better option. And really the difference between Huskblade, the difference between Huskblades and power weapons for the Dark Eldar is just they have like a battery. There's a battery attached somewhere on a power weapon as opposed to the Huskblade. So that's really the only difference. It doesn't matter at all. But I do like the new Archon, and I have the old Archon. So now I'm gonna have another Archon. An Archon is one of the best things you can take in Dark Eldar. They give reroll wound rolls, I believe, which is incredibly spicy. You attach them to a squad of incubi, and they absolutely will murder things. You spend the blood token so that you get reroll hit roll, and then you're reroll on the wound roll. Like, Dark Eldar are a glass cannon of an army. They do not stick around at all if they get punched back or if they get shot at, but when they hit so incredibly hard. The Dark Eldar are really, really fun to play. You're like biting your nails the whole game because things can go wrong so incredibly quickly, but when they go right, it just feels really, really good. And Archon is a really important part of that. Games Workshop rules writers, if you're listening for some reason, please let the Archon attach to anything. Like, it seems so lame that Archon can't attach to all of the troop choices in the Codex. Like, if something is battle line, it should be allowed to be joined by the generic hero of the faction. The first place you're going to be able to get to this generic hero is in the new battleforce box, which looks fine. It is kind of a smattering of everything. In fact, it is almost literally every kit available to the Dark Eldar. Probably not a great box for people who already have a Dark Eldar collection. Maybe if it's a really good deal, but it doesn't necessarily look like that amazing of a deal. If you're getting into Dark Eldar, this is probably a really good way to do it. You get a Venom, some Scourges, some Hellions, some Incubi, some Kabalites, some Witches, and you get the new Archon. which a little bit annoying that the Archon is stuck in this box. It's the generic hero, and it's gonna be stuck in this box for months and months and months, so people can't buy the generic hero of their faction. Like, it'd be like a Space Marine Captain if you like couldn't buy that model. Like, you need to take a Space Marine Captain. But I guess we can, in the meantime, we can just buy Lady Malaise and use her as an epic hero instead of just a generic hero. But speaking of things that are generic, also shown off is the new Drukhari Combat Patrol, and it is Oops All Homunculus, which is maybe not great for a start collecting, but if you want to start collecting a Homunculus Coven, this is a really, really good way to do it. You got 2 Rax, you got a Talos and a Kronos, or 2 Kronoses or 2 Taloses because they're made out of the same box, and you get a Homunculus. Right now, you actually can't buy the Rax on the Games Workshop web store. I think they're getting reboxed because for some reason, they were web store only and the box didn't have like a picture of Rax on the front of it. It was just the generic like black box that things come in from Games Workshop. I don't know why. I swear in 9th edition, you could buy Rax off the shelf that had a picture of Rax on the front of it. So I don't know why they went backwards in time. But it looks like if you bought all of this stuff separately, it would be about $100 of savings if it comes out the same price as all of the Combat Patrols have been coming out as. So if you want to start collecting Dark Eldar, not necessarily the best way, but if you have a Dark Eldar army or you just really love Rax and you want to add a bunch of Rax to your force, this is a really good way to do it because the Talos is excellent, the Kronos is excellent. Rax attached to a Homunculus is really, really good because I think it grants them a Feel No Pain. I don't remember if it's a 6-up or a 5-up, but this is, yeah, I have a soft spot for Rax. I own 30, and I'll probably end up buying this Combat Patrol, so then I'll have 40. And I assume that with the new codex coming out, we're gonna get a bunch of new detachments, and one of those detachments has gotta be Homunculus Coven. Yeah, and I'm gonna bring so many Rax. So I wonder what our special ability is gonna be. But speaking of detachments, this article says that they're gonna get 5, which I think is a somewhat appropriate number. Some armies have been getting 4, which is incredibly lame, but Dark Eldar are gonna get 5. I feel like they should just write 10 because it's just words and they could write as many as they want. I feel like it's not that much more work to write more detachments, but I can be happy with 5. 5 new ways to play my army is pretty darn good. I mean, presumably it's going to be Witch Coven, Homunculus Cabal, Court of the Archon. That's 3. That would be like just classic Dark Eldar. And then, I don't know what the last 2 would be. Maybe something a little bit Incubi-y, and then something like a Solarite detachment that's all about the Scourges. The Solarite is the name of the sergeant that is in Scourge squads. I think a Solarite character would be really, really cool. Oh, and Scourges. I'm a little nervous about the Scourges because right now they're like the best thing in our codex, but they're in a weird spot where the box comes with 1 of each heavy weapon available to Dark Eldar. But right now in the rules, you can take as many of each heavy weapon as you want. So the move kind of is you go with 4 Haywire Blasters or 4 Dark Lances or 4 Heat Lances, but you can't build that out of the box. And Games Workshop likes to keep things to what the box provides, but Games Workshop, it would destroy Scourges if you forced us to take 1 las cannon, 1 melt-a-gun, 1 flamethrower, and 1 heavy bolter. Like, that would be a garbage squad. It would be taking our best thing and making it into, I don't know, something that'd be like 80 points in game and not that particularly effective or helpful. So just leave that alone. Don't mess with the rules for the Scourges at all. I am perfectly happy buying multiple boxes to get the right number of weapons so that my forces can be WYSIWYG. Just focus on getting the new stuff. Also, at the end of this article, it says, we'll have more from the new codex as we get closer to release, so sit back and sharpen your flensing knives while we extract more juicy knowledge from between its pages, kicking and screaming if need be. Now, part of me reads that as, yeah, the codex is coming out, we're not gonna tell you when, but it's soon, don't worry about it, 2 new models. But another part of me that's coping really, really hard is that they're gonna show off a bunch more Dark Eldar, because once again, Urian Rackhearth, Grotesques, Court of the Archon, Beastmaster, maybe even Tantalus. Like, all of these things, we can't buy them. They're in the game, but we can't actually buy them. So presumably, Games Workshop is gonna refresh these kits with beautiful new plastics, maybe even new plastic witches, because the witches are getting pretty old and ugly. I think Kabalites have held up really, really well, but witches, we could use some new witch sculpts. Also, the new Lilith Hesperex books was really good, Queen of Knives, and it introduced a new character, Morgana. I think, was her name Morgana Grimm? I think it was, which is really, really lame, but she's a really, really cool character from that book, and so I would love to see her as a new character. If they're refreshing plastic kits, maybe have a combination model or a combination unit that is Lilith and Morgana, and then you could just bump up the power level of this unit quite a bit. That would be a really, really cool way of handling it. Asdrubael Vect. I mean, we haven't seen Asdrubael Vect since like 2nd edition Warhammer. He's the king of the Dark Eldar. He's the leader of the Dark City Chimera. Like, he is the guy. If you want a Primarch level threat for the Dark Eldar, it's Vect. And there's a rule in 40k where you can modify how much your opponent's stratagems cost. And that is called a Vect ability from back in the days where Vect was an actual miniature in the game. Yeah, there's so much you could do with Dark Eldar. At least give us grotesques. If you go on the Games Workshop website right now and you click on Dark Eldar or Drukhari, then you see in like their little banner, you see grotesques, and you haven't been able to buy those models in years. It's like dangerously close to false advertising that those are in the banner and yet they don't exist. You can't buy them. So just put out a box, a beautiful box of 3 new grotesques. And also let grotesques be joined by homunculus. In the lore, they're the bodyguards of the homunculus. So it does seem crazy that you can't attach them to a homunculus. It just seems like a weird oversight. And it would be really cool if grotesques could get a feel no pain. I mean, they look like they should have a feel no pain. They're literally, they just take a guy and they just pump them full of steroids and they like cut their arms off and attach new types of weapons. And they're like the greatest expression of art that the homunculuses can create. And so they should be in the new Drukhari Codex. I feel like for me, the Dark Eldar Codex is coming out just in time. I got the experience of putting together my entire Dark Eldar force. I've played all of the different detachments that have come out over the course of the years. I got a chance now to play with my Black Templar again and my Necrons again. And so now I feel like I'm ready to dip my toes back into the Dark Eldar and try some things out. I have a pretty good force. The only things I'm really missing are the flyers. And for some reason, Dark Eldar have 2 flyers. We have the Void Raven Bomber and the Void Fighter. And neither of them, they're both actually not bad at all. As far as flyers go, we definitely have the best flyers in the Void Raven Bomber. It's continued to tick up in points as the different points data slates have come out, but it's still not a bad little flyer. And it's really nice to have something tough. In my games of the Dark Eldar, when I actually bring the Tantaluses, and the Tantaluses are actually fairly tough with a large number of wounds, it makes the game so much less stressful because it's really hard to actually destroy those units. Even if they're not the most powerful thing on the table, just having a decent save really helps you out as opposed to having a 6-up save on just everybody. I think witches might even have a 7-up save, like they don't get a save. Or if you have like a 6-up save, you basically have a 7-up save because almost everything in the game is AP -1. I don't know if Games Workshop is going to come out with anything more for the Dark Eldar. There's the rumor that Dark Eldar were going to be in the launch box for 11th edition. I feel like that's probably not true. I feel like it would also be pretty bad if we got a codex and then like 5 months later, the game ended and the first new codex to come out would be Dark Eldar. Imperial Guard dealt with that in the change from 9th edition to 10th edition, where they got their codex, and I think it was only like 3 months later, their codex got invalidated with the new indexes. So Games Workshop, just give us Dark Eldar, give us the new Dark Eldar codex with all of the shiny new plastic things. We don't have to be the launch box, that'd be fine. Let it be orcs and space marines, but give us all of our units. Don't take any units away from us. Don't make our codex even smaller than it already is. I really want to see what a new Beastmaster pack would look like, or new Court of the Archon. I mean, I think some of their paints are still named after these things that they don't sell anymore. Like Lamian Medium, that's based on Dark Eldar Lamians. Like, it's a thing in 40k, it's famous, but you can't currently buy it because Dark Eldar have been on the back burner for such a long time. The Dark Eldar might be on the back burner from Games Workshop, but you know it is never on the back burner. EonsOfBattle.com. EonsOfBattle.com is the place to find our merch, like the Nick and J dice. We've also got wet pallets, water slide decals, basing toppers and bits, and custom nameplates. And it is the very best way to support us doing what we do with a membership. Each month, members get a credit that they can use on our new monthly terrain packs or any previous pack we have ever made. This September, we're revisiting our Blood Factory with the Dark Factorum Reborn. This is an epic collection of macabre modular walls that allow for building any shape and size of terrain, like L-shaped ruins and claustrophobic hallways. Within this set are the pulsating power plants, the engorged fluid pump, the digestive pools, all capped off with the deafening screams of the breathing organ. These glistening contraptions blend brutal machinery with fleshy constructs, creating a disturbing manufacturing facility full of unsightly architecture. This terrain pack is fully compatible with our previous Dark Manufactorum and expands it sickeningly. Let me know in the comments below if you guys think that Dark Eldar are just getting two things in a codex that's gonna axe all of our Finecast, or do you think that Holding Out Hope is not ridiculous and that they are going to refresh a bunch of these things that currently aren't available for sale from Games Workshop? Urian Rakarth. Urian Rakarth is in like every Dark Eldar list right now. He's so good. The first time he's killed, you don't take him off the board, you just like tip him over, and then at the end of the phase, you tip him back up, and he's back alive. It's such an incredibly powerful ability and incredibly thematic for the homunculus that he's just kind of unkillable. It's like he's really good, and I have one. I have a proxy model, but I have one, and I bring him in all of my games, and I really like him. And it'd be so lame to bring, now that we have a homunculus-themed detachment, to not get to bring the homunculus fella. It would be so lame. I don't know. I'm 50-50, but I'm probably being way too generous that Games Workshop is going to refresh Dark Eldar, and they've just decided to tease two little things to start out with. But if they were teasing two little things, I feel like it would make sense to do Lady Malaise and refreshed Archon. And they could. It's possible they could still have some Dark Eldar-y things to show off. I mean, 5 detachments. Like that could be maybe a little bit pointing that there's more to come for the Dark Eldar. I don't know. I'm really, really excited. The Dark Eldar are weird. I feel like when a Space Marine Codex comes out, or a Space Wolves Codex comes out, or the Black Templar Codex, which I just read, like you kind of know exactly what's gonna be in there. But Dark Eldar, they're so weird and wacky. I feel like it could be anything, so I'm excited. Thanks for watching.